But you have been to some serious parties, though. I mean, like, I'm sure I was watching something the other day, and you were talking about taking your clothes off at some party. Tell Matthew that story. It's so funny.
This wasn't one of Jilly Cooper's parties, was it?
It's a great story. Tell Matthew, Prue.
It was the 60s. It was about the same time. But I'll tell you what, I was living in Paris, and a friend of mine who was a banker, he wasn't my boyfriend, but he was a mate. He said, do you want to come to a party? And of course, I was always up for a party. So I said, of course I do. And he said, well, I know one which I think we can get into. So we went, and we banged on the door, slightly out of Paris, out of town a bit. And we banged on the door, and people rather reluctantly let us in. And when I walked in, everybody was stark naked, and it was in 2 or 3 rooms, and there were just all these naked, humping bodies, everywhere. And
like Eyes Wide Shut, that sort of thing.
They were just everybody was starkers.
Wow.
And it was a mighty gangbang, is what it was. So and my friend just disappeared. Off he went into some room or other. And I was left there, standing there, fully dressed, everybody else naked. So I went to the bar. There was a bar. And, of course, everybody kept coming up to me and saying, get your kit off. You can't come to this party and not, There was a lot of pressure. And I suddenly realized that I was the most conspicuous woman in the place because I had clothes on. So I took all my clothes off. But I had to wait for this other guy to get on with whatever he was up to. I didn't know where we were. I had come with him, and I hadn't got any. I just couldn't leave by myself. So I took all my clothes off, and that made it much easier. But then I did spend the entire next hour, I should think, walking around, pretending I was just on the way to the loo, or I was just going to go to get a drink at the bar. And I had to constantly pretend I was busy, or I was just going to meet somebody, because otherwise I'd have been,
dragged into the action.
Dragged into the
what a life!
I hope it wasn't a cash bar, because where'd you keep your small change?